So I've done a video talking about Armand and kind of his wasted potential. This is not necessarily going to be the same thing. I do feel like Eto Yoshimura was definitely wasted to an extent, especially towards the end half of Tokyo Ghoul Re, but I do feel like her character played her role perfectly in terms of the story and what she was meant to be doing and her interaction with everything. For me, Eto being probably the most prolific character in the story, she is the only natural one-eyed ghoul we know of, at least throughout the entirety of the story until we get towards the end when we find out there was another one, the original One-Eyed King, but she was the big bad kind of unknown character of the thing. I think what's great about it is that she plays two completely different sides from Tokyo Ghoul to Tokyo Ghoul Re, and you see both sides pretty much very fleshed out. In Tokyo Ghoul, she plays this very ominous, bandaged character that holds a lot of power and is kind of controlling absolutely everything. She's kind of portrayed as a villain. You don't necessarily know what she is or what she's potentially capable of until she kind of makes her big appearance at the end of Tokyo Ghoul and showcases everything. She is probably the most incredible thing you see in Tokyo Ghoul. Right at the end, it changes kind of your whole perception of ghouls and what they're potentially truly capable of. During that time, however, you also have this conflict between the CCG, Eto, and Old Man Yoshimura, as there's actually a lot of emotion there, and it's something that I really loved that Ishida had done. Ominous and mysterious as this bandaged girl was, she was very emotional, showing her a kind of desperation to save her father and everything like that was a very big thing. It didn't necessarily make her relatable, but it gave her depth, it gave her character. That was a very big introduction. It very much was. It was a massive introduction for her character, and it played off extremely well. In Tokyo Ghoul Re, she kind of changes completely, or at least her role changes completely, is because the story changes completely. You think of Eto kind of like an advisor. She has so much experience up her sleeve, she's versed so many people, she's extremely powerful and prolific. She's basically an advisor, someone that could kind of shape and mold Kaneki in a way that would benefit him in the future, and she kind of coincidentally done this. Recently I talked about Arima and their interaction with one another, Arima and Eto obviously, and I think that's a very big thing. Her pursuit towards a better future, one that she wasn't capable of herself, is a very big role, kind of the vital importance of the entirety of the story, and kind of brings up a lot of questions with Eto. Why did she think she wasn't powerful enough? Why did she not uphold the One-Eyed King title? Why did she want to push it onto someone else? Was it because she lost to Arima at that time and she knew that she would never beat him? When you think about that, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, Arima has kind of always been a character that no one would ever beat, and her kind of taking the gamble of pushing the title onto someone else, I guess that's kind of why she pushed it onto Arima, the most powerful character in the story. For her sake, she was lucky that Arima seen the corruption and everything in the world that was wrong through his own eyes kind of prior a little bit, and Eto kind of brought it more so to light, made it more obvious and how deeper the rabbit hole goes. So she was very intelligent to that aspect. She set up a lot of different things, a lot of different fallbacks, a lot of different directions that a lot of characters could take, and she paved this, not crystal clear, but definitely paved a very big picture for a lot of people to follow. She done it with Arima, she done it with Kaneki, she done it with Aogiri Tree, she done it with a lot of different people. I kind of put her as an advisor for that. She done a very good job. It's almost like she knew she wasn't going to make it out alive. It's almost like she knew that, her time was slowly coming to an end, and I'm not too sure if she herself knew that, or if she knew that she couldn't be as powerful as she once was potentially, or if she potentially knew that she would be getting in the way of things. Everything that she was planning and upholding was for them to more so survive without her. I found that very odd, especially towards the end of Tokyo Ghoul Re, when she kind of sacrifices herself to go into Kokula prison, be pushed into the open as a Frey, as a ghoul, as a rider. I was kind of questioning that. Was she really kind of sacrificing herself to uproot absolutely everything and to showcase evil in the eyes of everyone? She really kicked up a storm. When she kind of has that encounter with Furuta, she also sparked some very big things with him. She manipulated a lot of people, and it's kind of great how she done it, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. it. She manipulated Furuta to a 100% degree. She was very smart in doing so. Forced the hands of a lot of different people, the CCG, to make certain specific moves, and she forced the V organization to feel a type of way about her, and just her journey throughout the story was so meticulous. She was smart about everything. So seeing her build all of this stuff, kind of a future without her, always piqued my interest. Unfortunately, she came to a very conclusive halt in a very weird way. She went up against Furuta in a way where evidently she should have beaten him, but it's understandable that she didn't. There's a lot of reasons for this. One, she wasn't eating properly. Two, she was most likely pumped to the shithouse with RC suppressants because obviously she's so powerful. And three, Furuta at that time was completely unknown to us. I know a lot of people were very skeptical about that fight, and I may make separate videos talking about some of these specific fights in Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Re, but that fight was definitely a showcase of information. Showcase that Eto, probably one of the most powerful ghouls in the story, was coming to a conclusion, and that she was willing to kind of sacrifice everything to kind of take out Furuta, or at least show him that he's not as powerful as he thought. The thing with Eto is that I don't think she necessarily fully tried. Although being pumped with RC suppressants probably could make it seem like that, I'm actually more so rather impressed she managed to go into a full Kagaja. Being hit with RC suppressants is a very big thing. It's enough to knock out girls completely. You can imagine if she's completely pumped with it, she's still standing. She still managed to activate her full Kagaja, something that shouldn't be possible. So that in itself was a very big deal, obviously, because that put Furuta on the map for a character that holds his own rather well. I think the conclusion of that fight, with Eto kind of passing away, it was very weird but interesting. I can understand why she couldn't heal properly, RC suppressants obviously. Kind of the injuries definitely got to her, but I would never think that she would reappear back into the story. That final fight was kind of like the conclusion of her character. She didn't have to do anything more. Hell, she didn't even have to be introduced back into the story. She set up everything in a way that if she were to go into the Cocular prison, that most likely she was willing to die there, at least trying to take out someone, or at least reveal absolutely everything. And she put up a very good fight against Furuta, I'll give her that. She exposed a lot of different things, and she angered a lot of different people, especially Furuta. So seeing her die there kind of brought her to a conclusion. And I know a lot of people were sad about it because it seemed very abrupt, it seemed very open-ended, it was never necessarily confirmed that she was dead, or more so kind of just chilling there, especially when Kaneki came across her, so a lot of people were confused with what happened. Kind of skip forward towards the ending of Tokyo Ghoul Re, and she's returned. But not as herself, but as this big monstrosity. Something that's been artificially created or enhanced, or at least something has been changed about her. She's being controlled by Donato. She's in this massive full Kagaja form that isn't her own, mind you, and she's definitely been experimented on to an extent. My question is, why did they even bring her back? Why would they go through the effort of revealing that yes, that is Eto Yoshimura, but then not play on her to any extent? Was this a limbo phase? Was this meant to showcase that characters can die, but they can bring them back in like a limbo phase and control them, and then once they stop controlling them, they die? Because realistically, when Eto was kind of revealed after that, and then she kind of just passed out on the ground right at the end, and that was it. I assume she died, if that's the case. My question is why? You know, why even bother to bring it that? That could have been Haru, which was kind of the debate at the time, and it would have been exactly the same. Were they just trying to kind of wrap in loose ends with people kind of asking such big questions, like where is Eto Yoshimura? Where's Old Man Yoshimura? Like what are they doing? They kind of wrapped them both in at the end as well. It was implied that Old Man Yoshimura was turned into a weapon, and Eto was also turned into a weapon. I can see why, because they're very powerful people and they want to use their capabilities to the fullest extent, but at the same time, it definitely reignited a lot of things that didn't have to be. Eto had a conclusive finish prior to her return. It wasn't necessarily good, you know, I enjoyed it for what it kind of symbolized, but ultimately her ending wasn't as conclusive as I realistically wanted it to be. It should have left it a fraction bit open to the interpretation that she could potentially be alive, or at least manipulated or controlled, and that's exactly what happened. I don't think there was necessarily anything needed for that. I would have loved to seen her kind of alive throughout the ending of the story and then potentially die at the end of the story. I think that would have been really good, instead of dying in the Cocular Prism. I also think it would have worked a bit better if they implied that they took her body and maybe shown her in a capsule or something like that, just to showcase that she was getting experimented on. You wouldn't know exactly what's happening with her, but you would know that that she wasn't necessarily dead like that. And then you kind of would have had this massive reveal with her coming back and I'm like, yep, that's Eto Yoshimura. I think it just would have helped segue a little bit better because you were so in the dark about her character for a very long time, and then she just randomly comes back and then never gets any explanation about it. Instead, they could have kind of trickled into it like, oh, you know, that's her in a capsule, something's happening with her, maybe with next to Old Man Yoshimura, her father, and then it would have all made sense when they came back at the end of the story. I know you don't want to give away too much, but I felt like that would have been a lot more appropriate for her character, especially because her importance of the story definitely came to a conclusion, but you left it so open. So you didn't know if her importance to the story was finished or not. I feel like Ishida could have done a lot of different things with Eto. She definitely played off as an advisor. I definitely really enjoyed her for what she was worth, especially the two different sides she kind of played in both Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Re. She contrasted rather well, to be honest. It's just more so that ending bit with Furuta where it kind of gets a little bit murky. It kind of almost felt like Ishida didn't know what exactly to do with one of the most powerful ghouls in the story to relatively kill her off to Furuta, a character we know nothing about but was, I guess, strong enough to take down a weakened Eto. Unless Ishida was going for the fact that Furuta is a very ominous character in terms of like who he is and strength, but also strength in a ghoul form is not as coherent as people thought. That some ghouls can be extremely powerful, some ghouls have weaknesses, and I mean that's always the case, but maybe Ishida was trying to kind of shake up the whole strength chart, quote unquote, and kind of dismantle Eto being the strongest ghoul and be like, holy fuck, Furuta took out, you know, a weakened Eto, and that kind of just threw a spanner in the whole thing, and it was kind of like, okay, like who's strong? Where do we put Furuta? Where do we put Eto? Where do we put Kaneki? And maybe that's what he was going for, a bit of confusion mixed with a slightly open-ended conclusion, and then kind of brought her back for no apparent reason, which still kind of baffles me. It was great to see her, but evidently to the story you could have replaced her with any other character such as Haru or like another irrelevant character and it would have had the exact same effect. So it seems like he was trying to just clarify that, like, yep, she got brought back, so did Old Man Yoshimura, as like weaponized things, artificially created, and then now they're dead, they're gone for good. Maybe there was more to her character. I guess we'll never realistically know. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know how you feel about Eto Yoshimura. Do you love her? Do you hate her? Also, let me know who you would like for me to talk about next. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.